Hey everyone, Luis Perez here. I'm the Professional Learning Chair of the ISTE Inclusive Learning Network, and I'm coming to you today with a video focusing on the text-to-speech features in iOS 10. This video was originally recorded as a live demo on World Usability Day. Unfortunately, we have some issues with the recording, and so the audio and the video are out of sync. What I did is then go back and recreate the demo that I did so that you're having the best experience. So I hope you find this video helpful and enjoy. With iOS, Apple has really paid attention to universal design, and so right out of the box, your device includes a number of accessibility features. You'll find these by going to Settings, and then choosing General and Accessibility, and you'll find a number of different features here under Vision, Interaction, Hearing, Media, and Learning. And these are all the different ways that people need support, or the different ways in which they use their devices. In the interest of time, I'm going to focus on just one accessibility feature tonight, and that's the speech options. And in here, you're going to find things like Speak Selection and Speak Screen. First, I want to show you these features in action, and then I'll come back and show you how to configure them in the settings. So I'll press the home button. That will take me back to the home screen. And to demo the text-to-speech that's built into iOS, I'm going to bring up a note that I've created ahead of time. This note just has some text that I want to have the text-to-speech read out loud. And to activate the text-to-speech, one way you can do it, and this is called Speak Selection, is you can tap a word, let go, and then use the handles to make a selection. When you let go, you'll know that the text-to-speech is turned on because you'll see Speak as one of the options that shows up in the pop-over menu. I'll go ahead and choose Speak, and I'll let Alex tell you a little bit about the built-in text-to-speech. Alex is one of the voices that you can download for use on your iOS devices. Originally, this was only available on the Mac, but in recent versions of iOS, you can use it on mobile as well. So I'll go ahead and tap on Speak, and then we'll hear Alex explain a little bit about what he can do.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am an advanced voice for iOS devices such as your iPad and iPhone. I can simulate human speech, so much so that every once in a while I take a breath. While I am reading to you, in the background I am analyzing the next paragraph. This allows me to pronounce words that are spelled the same correctly based on their context. Here are a few examples. I am a bass player. I know nothing about bass fishing. She was about to wind the clock when she felt the wind in her face. He did not object to being the object of her affection. The speech features of iOS can also pronounce proper names correctly with a new pronunciation editor. Now back to Luis.
Great. So there, I want to point out a few things. Number one, Alex is not just a voice. It's actually a lot of processing or text processing that's going on in the background. Essentially, while you're hearing Alex, in the background, he is analyzing the upcoming text, and so that it can pick up some clues from the context in order to pronounce words like win and wine correctly based on where they appear in a sentence. Also, Alex can breathe every once in a while, just like we do in conversation, and in fact, there are different types of breaths that Alex can take depending on the word that's coming after the breath. And then the last thing I want to highlight is the new pronunciation editor. So in the past, I was always Louis when I heard my name pronounced by Alex and the other text-to-speech. Now in the settings, I can go in and I can customize this so that it actually pronounces that name correctly. So I'm really happy to be back to being Luis and not Louis. All right, so that's the Speak Selection option. There's another way that you can activate the text-to-speech, and that's using a special gesture where you drag from the top of the screen with two fingers, and this is called Speak Screen. And what's different about Speak Screen from Speak Selection, and in addition to the fact that you don't have to make a selection first, is that also you get some an on-screen controller with some options for you to control the speech while it's going on. And then also Speak Screen will speak everything on the screen, as the name implies. So that's not just the text, that's all of the buttons and all of the interface elements. So right now, if I drag from the top of the screen with two fingers, you're going to hear Alex start speaking, and you're going to see the on-screen controller.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am an advanced voice for iOS devices such as your...
With the on-screen controller, I can pause the speech. I can move the highlighting around. That's what the two arrows to either side of the play and pause button are. I can speed up the speech or slow it down. And then after a few seconds, you'll notice that it hides itself. This is so that it doesn't get in the way of the text that you're listening to. But I can bring it back by tapping the arrow or the chevron. And then when I'm finished, I can tap the X and dismiss it. So that's the other text-to-speech feature built into iOS, which is called Speak Screen, in addition to Speak Selection, where you have to make a selection first. Let's take a look at how you can configure these two options. To do that, we're going to go into Settings, then choose General, Accessibility, and the speech settings are going to be found under Vision. Here you can turn these features on and off. For instance, here I can turn Speak Selection off. I can turn it back on. I can do the same thing for Speak Screen. Right below where you turn these features on and off, you'll see an option for Highlight Content. Before, this was just an on-off button because the only option you had was word-by-word highlighting. But now in iOS 10, you can go in and you can have it highlight just the words like before. You can also highlight sentences, or you can do both, words and sentences. And if you choose to have the sentences highlighted, you can even customize the highlight style. That can be an underline, or it could be a background color. Unfortunately, you can't customize that background color. You're stuck with what Apple has picked. But at least this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that they'll continue to provide more options for customization. I generally leave this set to underline for the sentences, and then the background for the words, which is the default. New feature in iOS 10, which I'll demo in just a few seconds, is typing feedback. With typing feedback, you can get character feedback after a short delay. That's the first option here at the top. And then once you enable that character feedback, you can get character hints. And what that means is that it's going to say like T for Tango or I for Indigo and the like. And then I can specify the delay. I have it set to 1 second here. So if I type a character and then I wait about a second, I'm going to hear that character read out loud. That can be really helpful if you struggle with letters like M and N or P and Q. That way you get that additional feedback to make sure that you've typed the correct character. I can also enable the word feedback. And basically when I type a word and then press the space bar on the on-screen keyboard, I will then hear that word read aloud. And then finally we have hold to speak predictions. On iOS devices, right above the on-screen keyboard, you get some word prediction suggestions. And if you have this feature turned on here in settings, you can just hover your finger over each of those predictions to hear them read out loud before you enter them into a text or any document that you're creating. In addition to more highlighting options and the typing feedback, another feature that's available in iOS 10 that's brand new is the pronunciation editor. In here you can see I've already created a couple of these. For instance, I have Luis. And what takes place here is I have a phrase that I've typed in. That's what I want to have pronounced correctly. I have the substitution, and what's nice is you can just tap the microphone and speak the right substitution in. And then you have some options for which languages and which voices this pronunciation will apply to, how case is going to be handled, and all caps, and so on. Let's go ahead and create a new pronunciation just so that you can see it in action. What I'll do here is I'll remove one of them. You can do that by tapping Edit and then tapping the red button there and delete it, and we'll recreate it so that you can see how it works. To create a new pronunciation, what you'll do is tap the plus or add button at the top. Then type in the word that you want to have pronounced correctly.
E.
And then tap the microphone on the substitution and then just speak the correct pronunciation into your device. Jose. You'll get a few suggestions here, so I'll just have to tap, and I know that the last one is the correct one.
Jose.
Then I'll tap done,
Jose.
and then I'll hear pronounced correctly or as close to the correct pronunciation as possible. That's definitely a lot better than the original. So that's how you create a new pronunciation with a new pronunciation editor in iOS 10. Let's take a look at typing feedback and the new pronunciations in action. To do that, I'll go ahead into my Notes app. I'll create a new note. And then using the on-screen keyboard, I'm going to type the beginning of a word here.
M.
And then because I paused after I typed M, I heard that last character read out loud after the delay that I've set up in settings. I can continue to finish up this word.
E.
And then when I tap the space bar to indicate this is a complete word, then I'll hear it read out loud.
Welcome.
Now I can also hover over the word prediction suggestions right above the keyboard to hear each of these read out loud. That way I can be sure which one I'm selecting.
To. Back. Home. Back. To. S. iOS. 0. 10. My name is Luis.
There you could hear the pronunciation editor in action. It actually pronounced that word a lot closer to the actual pronunciation than it would have before. So there you can see some of the typing feedback. Let's go and review some of the options we've looked at that are brand new in iOS 10. In here you can adjust the highlighting, and some of the options for highlighting is that you can now have sentence highlighting in addition to word by word highlighting, and you can customize the highlight style. You have a new typing feedback feature. You can get character or word feedback, and then you can also hold on top of the predictions from QuickType and hear those read aloud. And you have a new pronunciation editor to make sure that every proper name or every word that would trick the text-to-speech is pronounced correctly. These new options exist right along the other options that you've had in the past, like being able to adjust the speaking rate or choosing different voices. And in fact, under iOS 10, you even have more voices to choose from. Here is Alex. As I mentioned, that's the special voice that you can download. You only need to download Alex the first time you want to use it on your iOS device. After that, it will be installed and it'll be ready for use even if you're offline. But the first time you do need to be connected to the internet to do the download. In addition to Alex, you also now have additional voices such as Allison, Ava, Susan, Tom, and so on in iOS 10. But Alex is the most advanced voice. That's the one that can do all of that text processing, so that you get the best performance out of the voice. For some of these voices, you also have the ability to use the standard voice or an enhanced voice that's a little bit clearer, and so that gives you even more options. So in this video, what I've done is taken a look at some of the text-to-speech features that are built into iOS and how Apple continues to make them even more customizable and easy to use with iOS 10. And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, speech and text-to-speech is just one of the accessibility features that's built into your iOS device. I invite you to explore the other ones that are included in your settings.